You know what I like about this movie? It's that it feels like a movie. To quote our new leading star of practically the world, Harry Styles. In this video, we will be talking about our new kind of blockbuster movie, Don't Worry, Darling, directed by Olivia Wilde and also starring Olivia Wilde, Florence Pugh, and Harry Styles. Okay, so I tried to film this, and you can see that I did film this, but I forgot to turn the microphone on. So this is me a few days later, um, getting to think about the movie more and compare it to other movies and talk about it again. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. The first scene of the movie is very interesting. I don't know why they picked this scene other than it caused controversy right away. What I hate most seeing on screen is people drunk. It's just so like I hate seeing people drunk in real life, but on screen, oh my god, I would rather close my eyes. But it was an interesting tone. I guess they wanted to put this scene first because it's going to speak for the film that it is hypnotic and that it's not grounded, which is interesting, but it was a little long. And of course, we get our Harry kissing a boy scene, which is kind of what the world wants to see, right? Since he's playing so much with femininity and he gets hated for his queer baiting, so let's give it to them in the first minute of the movie. It's interesting that they casted Harry for this role because he's obviously the number one pop male artist in the world. Besides and next to Bad Bunny and maybe Drake, but they're all in different lanes. Bad Bunny has the Spanish route, Drake has the rap route, and Harry has the pop route. But did you know that Harry is making so much history, but on top of that, he's making about like $3 million a day? Like, that is crazy. But do you think he can win the award for any awards for this role? I'll let you think about that and I'll tell you my idea. I think they might give him the award because this movie was made more for the audience that votes for who wins the award more than made for the general public. A Marvel movie or a superhero movie is made to fill seats, right? When you go to a Marvel movie, it's pretty interesting that every seat is filled with ages from like 5 year olds all the way to 80 years olds. Every seat is filled. This one is not like that. It is not supposed to be. I don't assume, but it's marketed as it's a big like psychological film, thriller, blockbuster, but it really isn't. So will they give the award to Harry? I would say yes because it looks like he's playing his cards right and he's dating the right people. He's very managed. He's managed very well to the like extent that he's giving a lot of sellout vibes because when you see now I'm going to talk about a different topic. When you see a famous pop star or famous person in general on a magazine covers on the internet, you want to see the other side of them. You want to see the shadow side. And that's what he gave you. He didn't have a lot of personality in film, but I don't really think he has personality in person. Personality in a sense of like emotional nature or like aggressiveness, he doesn't have that. He's an air sign. So he's not very like attached to emotions. Like, and it tells, you could tell that on his screen presence, and you can tell that in his performance on stage presence. It's not aggressive. But we want to see the shadow side of the famous people. So we got to see Harry kiss a girl, kiss a guy. We haven't seen that in the public. What else? We've seen Harry Styles have sex on camera. Like, we sexualize Harry Styles, but to actually see it happen, it's like mind blowing in the sense that we want to see that. We might not like say it out loud, but we want to see our pop star be grungy, be dirty, kind of be like a darker human than what he's presented. Harry Styles, okay, I didn't know this was gonna be a Harry Styles video, but here we are. He is very polished, clean, girly, feminine in the world view. So in his acting roles, he gets to play up other sides of himself. And he got to play darker routes in this movie. So I think that's why, to answer the question, they might give him a award, but I don't think they will give him the award. Like, they're not going to give him the Oscar. Maybe they'll give him like a BAFTA or like a nomination for like Golden Globe. Because this movie isn't really about him. It is more about Florence's performance. I didn't think that was going to be it, but it's fully based around her and her emotionality. But I don't think she will win the award either. But it was very like beautiful to see that intense and emotional acting from a woman. It was very cool. But okay, now let's talk about the movie. This movie is based, I'm assuming, in the 1950s, 1960s American nostalgia, where woman is housewife, man is worker. And they're both jobs, and you can't have one without the other. It reminds me of this TV show, one of my favorites. Has anyone watched The Astronaut Wives Club? I'm going to say no because it was not renewed for the second season and the ratings were not high. But Astronaut Wives Club was based in the idealized American views during the space race of America. And we got to see that the astronauts needed the housewife even more than anything else. And the housewife played the most important role in a man's life or in America's life. And it was interesting because it kind of captured a little bit of the era where women had to work. It captured like a year of that. It was very interesting how this movie was based more about the female awakening and the female spiritual acknowledgement of their power, which is what Florence tried to portray to her film. It was kind of like living in a robotic world and a robots finding their spirituality. Very Westworld. Now for the references that this movie collected. It collected Coraline in the sense of, if you sell out, you can get everything that the world has to offer you. And spoiler alert, Harry did do that. And I wonder if he did that in real life too. But that's just food for thoughts. Second movie, it references Truman Show in a sense that it's everything's controlled around you. It's a controlled environment. That's two. And when you are in a cage, you always want to see what is outside the cage. So that is cool how they use that concept in this movie of you're in a cage, So if you're in a cage, you're always wondering and questioning why they tell you not to leave the cage. So there's always going to be that one or that few that push the limits. That's the second reference. The third reference, Astronaut Lives Clubs, because it's referenced America. And even America now, in the sense that we were promised the promised America. The promise that if you work and you live and you take care of yourself, the governments will take care of you. It was interesting to see that reflected on screen. And let's see, the fourth. When I first was thinking about it, I thought it gave very Hunger Game vibes in the sense that Jennifer Lawrence plays Katniss, where she is the Mockingjay, the rebel, the savior. Florence had that same character development where she was playing the chosen one and not even knowing it, but throughout the film you get to see that she is the savior, the monarch, the Jesus of the show. And it's very cool how they played with concepts of America, promised America. You can sell your soul if you don't like your life in the real world. And it's really cool. Okay, I'm gonna stop saying cool because that's like my favorite word. If you watch any one of my videos, I say cool about 500 times in each video. But Harry's role as an actor, I didn't understand it because it played very soulless and played very like not there, and it didn't come into fruition or into orgasm until the last 30 minutes of the film, where we get to see that was his role. He was supposed to play it soulless. He was supposed to play it robotic, which is interesting to see Harry play, because his stage presence and his public persona is very that way. It's very like I hate to use this word for him, but it's very like soulless and robotic. It doesn't really go deeper than the smile. Florence's was full water, full emotion. I wonder if she has any water sign in her charts, because it was very, all her emotion was in her eyes, because this movie, oddly enough, did not have a lot of dialogue, which I enjoy. I enjoy that so much. When there's too much words in a movie, I'm just like, just act. Just show me some artsy fartsy scenes to get the point across. Do not tell me in words like what I'm watching. Like, let me think, right? And this movie did let you think, which was nice. But I want to give a thumbs up to Olivia Wilde, because what is more egotistical than directing your own movie and then acting in that movie, in that same movie? I love that. I love that creative spirit of, I made this movie, I'm making this movie, and I'm also going to act in it. To break the fourth wall for myself, I'm doing the same right now. I recorded myself, and then I'm talking over myself, and then I'm going to present it from myself. So Olivia Wilde, I get you. But I really enjoyed, and I really love the movies that touch more about females and female relationships to themselves and to their kids, and how some women hate their kids because they keep them trapped. That was so cool to see on screen. So I say thank you to Olivia Wilde for being a woman. I don't think we thank women for being women, but to tell women's story more than the male story, because we've seen the male story for the past 30, 40, 50 years. Now we're in an era where the woman gets the voice. And I think this movie, obviously with Florence Pugh being in every frame and every shot of the movie, that it's a woman's story. But I would critique, if I can critique, that this movie was cut up very oddly. It was like, for an example, to elaborate what I'm trying to articulate, I think when you're shooting a movie, it takes about, let's say, 6 months to film. And to film one scene, it could take up like to 4 days or a week. And it was obvious that you could tell when this scene, I can't say scene. Why is scene such a hard word to say? When this scene was shot and this one was shot, like, and they were just like taped next to each other. Like, it was very like, on this day we shot this one, on this day we shot this scene, on this day we shot this scene. So like the first like 30 minutes of the movie, it's very like cut, 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 cut. And it doesn't very like, it doesn't marinate or migrate well. It was very obvious that it was shot out of sequence. And another critique is ADR. ADR is when you film something and then you go back and you add sound effects on top. For an example, when you close a door, it makes a noise, right? And ADR is they edit it where it would make a louder thud when you close it. So on this movie, you can tell exactly each part of where they put the sound effect in. Like, if you were to close a door, there is a sound effect. If you cut the knife into the cutting board, there is a sound effect. And I guess that's obvious in every single movie. It's for impact and for aesthetic and style. But with this movie, it was so obvious that it was like loud. It was super loud than like the rest of the movie. I don't know if that was a style choice, but that was my critique, is that you can feel every single sound effect that was added afterwards. It was kind of weird. It like took you out of the movie. I wonder if it's supposed to like hypnotize you or like confuse you. But here's the last reference of the movie that I caught on to. Okay, I'm not going to say this right. San Junipero Black Mirror. The idea that when you die on Earth, you don't have to die forever. Your consciousness can be saved onto a computer and you can live in a VR for the rest of your life with your loved ones. Would you do that? Can you buy karma? And would you want to? And is it a trap? I love those like philosophical questions. And this movie has a few in it. This movie was more Pisces in the sense that it was like, you can tell every single reference, but it took every reference and made it their own movie, which is very hard to do because sometimes you make movies and it's just like, it was obvious you're just making that movie shot by shot by shot by shot. It was interesting how this one had the references, but it also kind of was telling us in an undertone of like, this is real and this is possible. Like the new AI technology and VR game and video gaming systems that are available to us now. It played around with those concepts. And the crackings of the walls of what happens if you're trapped in the simulation and you acknowledge it, or you remember your spirituality, you remember your divinity, you remember who you really are behind the drugs, behind the brainwashing, and what you do after that. Well, towards the last 10 minutes of the movie, I was like, they could end this movie any second and they could do like a black screen. And I was like waiting for it. That's what made this movie enjoyable. Like the last 10 minutes was that I was like, how are they going to end us? How are they going to end us? And they ended it perfectly. They ended it with, spoiler alert, Florence Welch killing Harry Styles and being the Mockingjay and being the independent woman, being the Truman Show, leaving the game, breaking the fourth wall and going back into real life. I wonder if this movie can just be a dream. It can just be one big fever dream or one big acid trip, right? Like one big mushroom trip. You're breaking down all the patriarchy standards that we lived in and still live in. And it's so funny that they even played with the concept of like men drive, women don't. And it's so ironic that ideal is still practical and alive today, like around the Middle Eastern countries. That is still a belief that is real, that women aren't taught to drive. So that was very huge and very poignant, that she grabs the wheel and slams the pedal and drives away. It was just a cool scene to see, like, blonde hair, pretty girl with her husband's blood on her, drive away, taking charge, leaving the game. I give this movie about 7 out of 10 because I love female stories. Do you love female stories? If you don't, well then I don't want to have a conversation with you. Bye. But I would recommend you watch this. And I hope you enjoyed some questions that I asked and that I got to ask myself and we got to explore. But that's the power of movie making, right? When it reflects to you all the decades past and even the present moment. And it snaps you out of the mental madness and daily stylogue. Okay, I tried to say 2 words and I came up with stylogue. Like, what does that even mean? I meant daily struggle and daily dialogue. Daily stylogue of your mental madness and all the mundaneness of the world. A movie is what? An hour and 30 minutes long, and it could reflect to you 50 years of life or 50 years of American history at once. And that is so powerful. And it quickens your energy and it quickens your thoughts. So goodbye to you. I'm gonna go deal with my daily stylogues. But do you watch this movie? And I'll come back to this and watch this and see if Harry gets the award, if Florence gets the award. I don't think they will. I think they're too young. They didn't give Gaga her award for the first movie she was in. I don't think they're going to give it to Harry. I don't think they're going to give it to Florence. She's still too young. It's so weird how in Hollywood, you're like too young for the award, but then once you age out of Hollywood, you have no roles. But we're in a weird time where it's about TV movies. I mean, like Netflix streaming services movies, and it's about woman stories. Maybe she'll get the nomination, but we'll see. I'll talk to you later.